In this video, we'll talk about my November favorites. Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. If you're brand new to my channel, thank you so much for stopping by. And if you've been here before, as always, thank you, and welcome back. First of all, happy belated Thanksgiving to everyone. Hope you had a fabulous celebration. I was sick for a few days and I'm feeling so much better. So everybody, thank you so much for your well wishes. Let's get started. First, we're going to do a real quick recap of November. In the beginning of November, I had the wonderful pleasure of speaking with Hawaii's first stand-up comedian, Andy Bumatai. Andy was on tour here in Southern California with his first stop in Los Angeles, and his next stops all the way down to San Diego and then all the way up to Northern California. And I had a wonderful time speaking with Andy. He was very candid in his conversation with me about his cancer that he had and his recovery and things that he was doing to stay positive. He also talked a little bit about what he wanted to do, which is ride a motorcycle pretty much across America and just take in the sights. So if you want to check out his video, I will have his link for you down below. Next, I was able to talk with tattoo artist Uncle Russell Pri, and he had some wonderful insights to tell us about things to consider before getting a tattoo. Uncle Russell had some great information and tips to share with all of us, so if you're considering getting a tattoo, be sure to check out his video, which I'll have a link for you down below. And in the month of November, I had two very special podcasts. The first interview was with Legends Football League Los Angeles Temptation head coach and defensive coordinator, Tui Suiaunoa. And Tui had some wonderful, cool things to share with us. First of all, he is a Carson High School alum, so yay, go Colts! He had wonderful things to share about himself, and he has some wonderful things to share about his professional career as well. So be sure to check out his podcast, which I'll link for you down below. And the next podcast that I had was with a wonderful, vibrant Filipino ice skater originally from Sacramento, California, who will be here in Southern California starting in December all the way through January 2018. She is Disney on Ice Follow Your Heart ice skater Justine Lopez, and she shared a very personal story about herself having undergone scoliosis surgery and overcoming all the obstacles to land a wonderful and successful career as a Disney on Ice Follow Your Heart's ice skater. And I'm super excited to share that story with you. So as always, I will have all the links for you down below, so be sure to check out Justine's podcast. Okay, now on to my favorites. This month's favorites is going to be kind of short. I don't have a favorite YouTuber this time. I don't have a favorite show this time. But since we're on the subject of podcasts, I thought I would share two of my favorite podcasters that I've been listening to over the course of November. The first is Frank Buckley Interviews. Frank Buckley is an anchor on the KTLA 5 morning news show, and he has a podcast that updates weekly. And there are two specific interviews that he had that I was so intrigued that I was basically mesmerized in my car listening to, and I wanted to share them with you. The first interview was with Jimmy Jam. Yes, Jimmy Jam, who collaborated with Terry Lewis back in 1983, and they produced Janet Jackson's Control album. This was a very interesting podcast to listen to, and it was very interesting to hear all the stories, the backstories, and even some of the stories about Janet Jackson herself and how she grew as an artist in the making of the Control album. I highly recommend listening to this podcast, so if you haven't already, search Frank Buckley Interviews and search for his interview with Jimmy Jam. The other interview that I enjoyed tremendously was the Frank Buckley Interviews of Vin Scully. Vin Scully, as you know, is the legendary Los Angeles Dodgers announcer, and he truly is the voice of the Dodgers. And if you know Vin Scully and you've seen and heard all of his broadcasts and you follow the Dodgers, you know that he is just as eloquent about his storytelling, and he's charismatic and captivating. Everything about Vin you'll absolutely love and adore in this podcast. So I recommend listening to the Frank Buckley interviews with Vin Scully. Okay, and then the last podcast I had so much fun listening to is a podcast named Ali on the Run, A-L-I on the Run. I believe she's a runner, which is hence the reason why she calls her podcast Ali on the Run. And she interviewed Andrea Barber, who is infamously known as Kimmy Gibbler of Full House and now Fuller House, all available on Netflix. Netflix, that was my shameless plug. I really enjoyed this podcast because if you know anything about me, you know that I love all kinds of things behind the scenes. I love behind the scenes action. I love behind the scenes stories. I love behind the scenes live interviews. I do those all the time, but I really enjoyed this so much, and really how they are two different people, Andrea Barber the actor and Kimmy Gibbler the character. So it was really cool to hear kind of the insights behind the character and her personal side as well. So it was really fun to listen to, you know, how Kimmy Gibbler came about, because she actually originally didn't audition as Kimmy Gibbler. Find out by listening to the podcast who she actually auditioned for. You'll be just as intrigued as I was. Well, that's it, everybody. That is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching this episode of my favorites, my November favorites. If there are any favorites that I talked about here on this show, be sure to comment down below and let me know which of my favorites are your favorites. Be sure to stick around for more Annie Talks and Celebration Awareness in the next few weeks and months. And if you haven't already subscribed, be sure to hit the subscribe button down below. Don't forget to hit this notification bell so that anytime we upload a video, you'll be notified. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you in my next video. Thank you for watching. Be sure to comment and like below. About is to talk about. We're talk about the whole neighborhood is like his professional career as rare.